I knew a lady on campus. She slept with every lecturer that I knew, and she will come to campus and brag. I said, this one, I don't sleep with her. She finished school with a 2-1. She cannot speak correct English. I didn't know whether she wrote any exams. Guess what? Immediately after graduation, she married instantly. She took in. She has 3 children now. I know people who have served God with all their hearts, with all their soul, with all their minds, and they have been trusting God for marriage. Nothing has happened. I've known people who have been virgins all their life. 5 years into marriage, nothing is happening to them. And men began to multiply. Unfortunately, according to scriptures in the book of Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1, it was the generation of the sons of men that were multiplying, that were advancing. It is not because there was something wrong with the sons of God. It is because in the part of priesthood, there is a process of suffering. And many times we break camp because we feel these things are too much. So there were 2 generations. The generations that built a civilization out of the presence of God with their carnal nature, and a civilization that stayed with God. And the Bible said in the generation of Enos, men began to call upon. So there was one major component that characterized the generation of the sons of God. What is it? Priesthood. That means anytime a man loses priesthood, the man changes camp. He ceases to become a son of God. That's why the Bible tells us that one of the signs that we are the sons of God is that we have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but the spirit of adoption that makes us cry. It was in the days of Seth that men began to call upon the name of the Lord. What makes a man a son of God is his ability to constantly depend on Abba, his source and sustainer. And the way he does it is by priesthood. Every time you choose to walk by the flesh, you are subscribed to the civilization of the flesh. Like Cain, you have walked out of the presence of God and you have chosen your own path. Before verse 2, the Bible says, and daughters. The word daughters there is not literally. If you look at the Greek lexicon there, it means the products or the branches of the sons of men. That's the word daughters. And daughters were born unto them, and the sons of God began to look upon their products. You have been doing ministry for 10 years. You couldn't buy a car. In your neighborhood, somebody just start doing ministry. He's riding a Range Rover. Then you now visit him. Say, God, they help you. You know, in the kingdom, we don't blow, we grow. Luke chapter 1 and verse 18. The Bible says, and the child grew in the spirit. If it were going to be in the flesh, it would have been that the child blew. That's what many of us are willing. We want to blow. Nobody wants to grow. It was not just that he was just growing and waxing strong. He was in the desert. A desert is a place of no visibility, where nobody will see the things you are doing, but you are growing. The child grew and waxed strong in the spirit and was in the wilderness until the day. There is always a day that is called the day of your showing forth. And that day is the day that is called the manifestation of the sons of God. If you stay in the wilderness and you are growing accurately, there is always a day of manifestation. Unfortunately, it is only the sons of God that can bring liberty to this earth that has been subjected into vanity. And God did it in hope, waiting that a generation like the generation of the sons of Seth will rise. When I remember my life just a few years ago, 50 naira, not dollars, was a luxury for me. I know you will not believe it. All I knew how to do was to stay in the place of prayer, because I was also a website designer. My mathematics teacher's only son, he just finished from school. He said, I want you to do a multi-level marketing website for me. I said, okay. By the time I traced it, I knew that he was into fraudulent activities. If I had built that website, my pay would have been in millions, but I chose not to. Do you want to choose the way of corruption? It is an easy way out. And men began to multiply upon the face of the earth. Men will always multiply. This is why we should not compare ourselves with the unbelievers. In the next 50 years, if we see any believer who is dragging a place with Elon Musk, go and check. There is compromise, because men will always multiply. Men will always multiply. But you see, the thing about the multiplication of men, the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes, do not envy the wicked, for surely there is an end, and the expectations of the righteous shall not be cut short. The Bible says, for our present suffering cannot be compared with the glory. There is a weight of glory that is coming with the things that God is doing with us by priesthood. Luke chapter 18 verse 1, Jesus speaking a parable unto us to this end, that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Philippians chapter 4, the Bible says, be anxious about nothing, but in all things through prayers and supplications. You have heard us say in this house that it's not everything by money, it's not everything by connection, it is everything by prayer. This was how the sons of God were made. They were made by priesthood. There are many choices when you leave the presence of God. The Bible says, for there is a way that seemeth right unto a man. There is a way. There is always a way out of the presence of God. That is why the church is the way it is. Because you think that it is only in God you can find money. It's a lie. It's not true. Outside of God you can find money, but that money will have no eternal value. Outside of God you can find children. there is already a civilization that Tubal Cain has built for security. You know, the Bible says that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous, they run into it and they are secure. That's our security. But today, you don't need the name of the Lord, because Tubal Cain has built a system of what? Security. Just have a bulletproof car. Your travel is safe. Just have a fence where the person who is touching the fence will be electrocuted there straight. This was a system that was built by Tubal Cain, so that somebody will ask this God, one at the sick, one at the sicker, because they believe that they can do these things outside of. We can build these things outside of the presence of God. So why do you need God? That's why many people will travel out of Nigeria and will say, why are you guys praying? Because they think that the reason why you are seeking God are the things that they can do without God. The only thing that this generation of the Son of God had was priesthood, was prayer. They were not succeeding according to what men call success, like the other generation. So the Bible tells us in the book of Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1, and men began to multiply. You see, that process has been there from the beginning. You cannot change it now. We can't compete with unbelievers because their civilization is different from our civilization. And men began to multiply upon. How do the sons of God operate? They stay in the presence of God. They stay in the place of priesthood until God speaks. And if the Bible tells us in the book of Romans chapter 8 that our suffering, this present suffering, cannot be compared. So even Paul understood that the way of priesthood, the way of crying Abba Father, is a way of suffering, because people will be advancing, you will still be waiting as though you have nothing. I like the word Paul used, suffering, because many times it looks like foolishness. It looks like suffering in itself. But guess what? It cannot be compared with the glory that will be revealed in us. It will be revealed both in time and in eternity. After each season, it seemed as though the Lord had turned again the captivity of Zion. It was like a dream. I hope you know that the day that you see a maize germinate, that was not the day it germinated. That was the day you saw it manifest. Under the earth, it had been growing. But the day you saw it unearthed, that day was the day it manifested. The Bible said, and John was in the wilderness, waiting for his day of showing forth. If the earth must be delivered from the bondage of corruption, then sons must manifest. It was God's plan that the generation that must redeem this earth of corruption will always be the generation of the sons of God. And if there is no reason why you should cry, know that there are people that are waiting for your manifestation. If your family will be saved from the perpetual arrows of Satan, it will be from the ministry of sons that have arisen.